Isn't it nice to hear the birds singing? What have we got? 14 degrees centigrade, 57 Fahrenheit, 72% humidity. Haven't had any rain again. 1022 millibars, and the flag it was west, is now back to the east. Apparently, next week, is it all next week or next weekend or whenever? 27 degrees, possibly. They were saying on the telly, heat wave on Monday, 22 degrees. 22 degrees is not a heat wave, is it? I mean, come on. 22 centigrade. What's that in Fahrenheit? I don't know. But it's not a heat wave, certainly nowhere near a heat wave. So it could be 27 next week. Mind you, as you know, they do lie a lot. I've just looked up 27 centigrade is 80 Fahrenheit. It's nice, isn't it? 80, but that's not a heat wave. I remember when I went to California in 1975, 100 Fahrenheit. Now that was warm. That, I suppose, is nearing a heat wave, but 80 degrees isn't. What a load of rubbish. They do talk rubbish, don't they? I was going through some old emails the other day. Hang on, I've got a note here. Oh, first of all, Bob and Val, they are going all around America on their USA trip, and they're emailing me so I know what they're doing, where they are, and photographs and stuff. So if you're able to listen, Bob and Val, hello to you two. Have a good trip. And I'm enjoying the emails and the photos you're sending me. Right, what was I going to say? Now I can't remember. Oh yes, I was going through emails and I found one from Susan, or is it Suzanne, in Germany. Hello Susan, if you're listening. Hope the school teaching is going okay. An idea you had, this was 2 years ago, this email. You said, what about punishing kids, whether it be teachers at school or parents at home, punishing children? What was it like back in in my day, 50s and 60s? I don't know whether I ever answered you even, Susan, on that one, did I? Isn't it awful? How remiss of me. 2 years. Anyway, 2 years later, here I am answering your email. I'm sure I did answer you, but I'm not so sure that I actually covered that. So let's have a think. Punishing children in the 50s. What was that? I mean, I wouldn't know because I was a perfect child, obviously. Possibly not quite perfect. I do remember I was staying at my grandmother's, only about 5 miles from where we lived, staying with my grandfather and grandmother. And I must have been, how old was I? 7, 8, 9. And I wandered off to look at the steam engines. The railway line was not far, well, basically down the end of their road was the railway line. And I remember I didn't tell my grandmother, I think my grandfather was at work. I didn't tell her where I was going. I just left the place, walked down and sat by the railway line. There was a stile, where you could cross the line. And I sat there, steam engine drivers waving and whistling at me. Brilliant. I was there for a couple of hours, got a bit peckish. This was in the morning. Got a bit peckish, thought it must be lunchtime, wandered back. As I went into the place, my grandmother, she looked shocked. She was saying, where have you been? Where have you been? Well, I've been worried sick. I said, I've been looking at the steam engines, the trains. You didn't tell me you were going out. She said that she'd called the police. Apparently the police were out looking for me. Missing child. Well, it's not funny, it is now. Anyway, she called the police and she said, it's all right, he's come back. She'd called my parents, told them, or my mum anyway, my dad was at work, told her I'd gone missing. Just walked out of the place and disappeared for 2 hours. I didn't get punished though. I got told off, but I didn't get sort of physically punished. I don't know why I did that. I suppose in my head I thought, I'll go and have a look at the steam engines. Because I love the steam engines, I still do. And I just wandered off down to the railway line without telling her. I just didn't think. I wasn't deliberately being bad or anything. I just didn't think. Another time, I think I was 6 or 7 years old, my mum was going to go over to the shops with me. I had half a crown, some of my birthday money, and I was going to buy something from the sort of sweet shop come toy shop, which wasn't too far away. And she said, I won't be a minute, and then we'll go. And I waited. And she's faffing about. Didn't have the word faff back then, did we? I don't know where that came from. She's faffing about. Are you coming, Mum? Yes, in a minute. I'm just doing this. I'm just doing that. Come on, Mum. This went on. And for some reason, I thought, I'll go on my own. I'm not waiting here. I'll go on my own. So I did. Wandered over to the shops with my half a crown, my 2 and 6pence. And I bought this dinky car, corgi toy car, whatever it was. Walking back, I bumped into my mum. She's looking frantic. Where have you been? Where did you get to? This is before I used to go out on my own. I was, as I say, 6, maybe 7. I said I went to buy the car with my money. She said, you should have waited for me. I didn't get hit or anything, but I did get told off big time. I suppose that's fair enough. I mean, you can't have a child of 6 years old or whatever wandering off on their own. And it's like the steam engines disappear for 2 hours without telling anyone. So I got told off for that. When did I ever get hit? My dad whacked my bottom several times, 6 of the best with his hand. That was another time, actually, thinking back. I had wandered off to meet a friend. I hadn't told my mum. Now, this time, I think I was a lot older. I was probably, 11 or 12. And I disappeared for the entire day. That was the problem. It's coming back to me now. He came round in the morning. My mum, I don't know where she was, in the bathroom or hanging out washing. She wasn't around, so I cleared off with this friend of mine. We were gone all day. It must have been about 5 o'clock when I got home. I hadn't been back for lunch. I don't know what we were doing. We were over the woods. We were having fun, climbing trees. Time flies, doesn't it, when you're having fun? I got home about 5 o'clock. Where have you been? My dad was home. He'd left work early. Where have you been? I said, well, I've been out over the woods with Morris. It was Morris, his name. Oh, that's right. We went back to his place for lunch. I just remembered he didn't live too far from the woods. We went back to his place for lunch. Anyway, my dad whacked my bottom 6 times, I counted, hard with his hand. And I didn't like that at all. That's the only time I remember actually being thrashed, I suppose. Damn good thrashing, that's what you need. At school, well, that was a different thing altogether. I remember children getting their knuckles rapped with a wooden ruler. That didn't happen to me, fortunately. And also the ruler on the back of your legs, because the girls wore dresses, so they had bare legs, and we wore shorts, the boys, so we had bare legs. And I did get the ruler across the back of the calf, made a loud slap, and it hurt, and it was all red. I remember looking, it was all red, where this teacher had whacked the back of my legs. I don't know what I'd done wrong, I can't remember. Tricia, actually, she is still very angry about something that happened to her in primary school. What did she say she was, about 8 years old? Someone had played noughts and crosses on a book, on a textbook, on the front cover of this textbook. So the teacher said to the whole class, who can play noughts and crosses? Who knows that game? Of course, Tricia put her hand up. Yeah, I can, miss. I like noughts and crosses. 1 or 2 other girls did. So the teacher said, OK, come to the front of the class. Now then, you wouldn't do it, pointing to this girl. I know you wouldn't deface a textbook like that. Of course, she looked at Tricia, got to her. It was you, wasn't it? And Tricia said, no, I didn't do noughts and crosses on the book. It wasn't me. She said, I know you. You're the sort of person that would have done it. Anyway, she got this ruler. Was that on her legs or back of her hand? And to this very day, all these decades later, she remembers that. And she is still very annoyed about it because she was innocent. As she said, had she done that on the book, fair enough. Fair game, you get caught, you get the ruler. But she hadn't done it. Now, that happened to me once. I had some cigarette cards. Again, I was 8 or 9 years old. I'm in the classroom. These cigarette cards of mine, I wasn't playing with them. They were in the desk. I was putting them in my blazer pocket. This teacher, Miss Morgan, I nearly said something. She was awful. She said, come here with those cards. I went to the front. She took them, and there must have been about 50 there. Nice cigarette cards. She ripped them up one by one and put them in the litter bin. Of course, the others in the class, they're going, oh, no, oh dear. They're all stunned. I was stunned. I was only putting them in my pocket. All right, I shouldn't have had cigarette cards in the classroom, possibly, but we all collected them. We did swapsies, in the playground. Anyway, this boy went home and told his mum, and his mum went up to school and had a go at this teacher, this Miss Morgan. Of course, my mum got to hear of it. She went to the school, and this woman, this teacher, she got really, can I say slagged off? That's not swearing, is it? She got slagged off. Then the headmistress got involved. It was all, I don't know, it was dreadful. I found it quite amusing, of course. I thought it was a great laugh. Mind you, I'd lost my cigarette cards. But that teacher, she didn't last long after that. After a few weeks, she disappeared. I don't know whether she was sacked or retired or what she did. But I hated her, and I never forget that to this very day. I was just putting them into my blazer pocket, that was all. When I was at the secondary school, I was, 13, I did get the cane for playing truant, hooky, bunking off school. I'm sure I told you about that before. I was walking down the drive with my bicycle sneaking out, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, deputy headmaster, hanging out of his window, his office window. "You boy, come here." That was it. I had to go back, and I got the cane, 6 of the best, and a load of maths homework that he knew I couldn't do. I was no good at maths. And he said, "Woe betide you, boy, if you get that wrong. Woe betide you." I never forget those words. I never forget him. Mr. Luffer, his name, deputy head, Mr. Luffer. He called his cane his tickling stick. Tickling stick. He should have been shot. He should have been put down. You can't beat boys like that. Unhappy days. There was one chap I knew at school. His dad used to get the leather belt, take his leather belt off and whip him with it. And he often came in with red marks on his hands where he'd been trying to defend himself. That was awful. I never met his dad. No one ever went round the house, his house. You know, he had some friends, but they didn't go to his house because of his dad. When we'd all left school, I did hear from another chap that we were 18, okay. His dad, this chap's dad, had taken his leather belt off and was going to give him a damn good whipping. He's 18 years old now, the lad, and the lad fought back. He was a big lad as well, and he fought. Apparently he beat his dad up quite badly, and the police were involved. I don't know what happened after that, but he'd had years of this leather belt business, and when he was 18, that was it, payback time. I don't know what happened to him. I suppose it was what would have happened to him? I don't suppose he would have gone to prison for beating his dad up. I don't know. But I remember hearing the news and thinking, oh, good, about time, good on him, because everyone had heard these stories and seen these red marks where he tried to defend himself, red marks on his hands. Of course, these days, social services, other people like that, agencies, they would get involved, wouldn't they? If anyone had said to their parents, "There's a boy at school, he gets whipped with a leather belt and he's got red marks all over him," someone would have told, social services. But back then it was left to the 18-year-old lad to sort his father out, which he did. I believe the father also hit the boy's mother. I think that was all part of it. That's why the boy beat his dad up seriously in the end. Not only him, it was his mum that was getting hurt. I don't know why people do that. I've never understood this abuse of women like that. Why would a man beat his wife up and think, anyway, there we are, that's another issue. I don't think we'll go there, but I never have understood that. I never will. Talking of kids, haven't heard from North Carolina's son and his lovely family out there in the US of A. What are you doing out there, you lot? About time you spoke to me. I don't contact him. I don't phone him. Is it phone or WhatsApp or whatever we do? Because he's busy, he's always working, and there's a time difference, whereas I'm retired, so he contacts me when he's got a minute. He's got perhaps half an hour or an hour to have a chat, then he'll call me. I don't call him. So I hope you lot are okay out there. You lot. You lot, I like that. Don't know what the weather's doing in North Carolina. The weather around Europe is Italy, Greece. They've had rain. We have the kind of European map come up on the screen on the news. And Athens hasn't been warm, It's the most I've seen at Athens is 20 centigrade. That's not hot, is it? I thought down there, maybe it's too early in the year. I thought it would be 25, 30 by now. I'm probably out of touch. I don't know what's going on. But I have looked at the map all over around like Turkey, Greece, Italy, Albania, Bulgaria, all around there. There's rain everywhere. So I don't know what that's about. We've still got the east wind. Still, as I said, next week, 27 centigrade. That'll be good. Bletchley Park, we're going to Bletchley Park on Friday. Probably be a heatwave Friday, so we roast in the car. No, there's aircon in the car. We should be all right. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm not sure whether there'll be an episode next Sunday because I'll be at Bletchley Park next Sunday making a recording. I'm going to take the recorder with me so I can bore you all with that when I get back. So I'm not sure there'll be a recording next Sunday. We will see. No doubt I shall talk to you on Wednesday with the midweek message. Just an update, not that you're interested, an update on the gas men laying the new gas main up our road. I told you the crew, the gang or whatever they're called, the contractors, they all got sacked. They all cleared off. I don't know what they'd done wrong. They were digging up the road. They had their diggers and all the machinery out there digging up the road. Then one day they just didn't turn up. They're gone, taken all their stuff with them. That was 2 weeks ago, more than 2 weeks ago. They were supposed to be starting after a week, a new lot that they supposedly had got. Anyway, nothing's happened. There's all this plastic fencing around holes out there. In the wind, it falls over, goes all over the place, and it's just left. Now, in Japan, they built or replaced a motorway bridge, a bridge over a motorway. They replaced it, was it overnight or 2 days or no, 24 hours? There was a video of it speeded up. Is it speeded or sped? Made quicker. And you see all these workers and machinery going, da, 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 and this old bridge was taken away. The new bridge was built. I'm sure it was overnight or 24 hours or something. And I was thinking about the gas men the other day. That's what we need. We need some advice from the Japanese. How do you do that overnight? They would have had this gas main laid in our road overnight or 24 hours. That would have been done. So, I don't know. I don't know why we're so slow here. These workmen, it's an old joke, isn't it? You know, a workman leaning on his shovel having a cup of tea. There's 6 workmen, all leaning on their shovels, having a cup of tea, chatting, rolling a fag, have their cigarette, have another cup of tea, dig a bit more of the hole. That's no good. Get going, dig it, get it sorted out. Anyway, the road is still all a total mess, and I think it's going to stay that way for quite a while. I've seen the odd gas man. They got gas written on the back of their high-vis jackets, I've seen 2 or 3 with their mobile phone taking photos of the fences around these holes. They just walk up and down the road taking photos, then clear off. I don't know what the photos are for, to show someone, obviously. I don't know who. Anyway, at least we've still got gas. Not that we need the central heating on anymore. I told you about the water bill, didn't I? Gone up 53, was it, or 57%? Stone the crows. What I'm doing now to water the plants is any water that we run in the kitchen, like if you're cleaning, washing vegetables or salad stuff or whatever, I save that and water the plants with that. Normally that would just go down the drain, but I'm saving that. And Tricia, if she uses any water in the bowl in the kitchen, she'll go and empty it out onto the borders to water the plants. We just haven't had a great deal of rain. Apart from that, I told you, didn't I? One night, it lashed with rain. Did I tell you? Lashed with rain all night. And the water butt is only getting water from one little bit of roof out there. It's not like the whole back of the house. I normally put out a load of buckets and bowls. And I thought, no, I'm not going to do that. Going to rain tonight. They're always lying. It's not going to rain. So I didn't bother. Of course, it lashed with rain all night. In the night, I was going to go out there. 3 o'clock in the morning. I was going to go out there in the pouring rain and put all my buckets along where this water all comes off the big roof, on the patio roof, I'm going to put a gutter along there. You don't want to know all this, do you? I'm going to put a gutter along there and put that into the water butt, because if they're going to double well, not double, but put the water bill up by 53 or whatever %, I'm not going to use tap water for the plants. Do you know, I've often thought about that. All the processes that they go through, filtration and cleaning the water, adding fluoride or whatever they add to it, all this plant they've got to make the water into drinking water, that's great. That comes into our homes as drinking water. We use it to flush the toilet, wash the car, water the garden. Surely we'd be better off with 2 water supplies. I daren't suggest that. They've already got the road dug up. We don't want the water lot coming along. But that would have been a good idea, wouldn't it? Drinking water for your taps, and then for the toilet cistern and the hose pipe in the garden, washing your car. Not neat rainwater perhaps, but sort of half cleaned up rainwater, or just rainwater even, from the reservoirs. Yeah, why not? As I said, I've always thought it odd that we use clean drinking water to wash the car and just throw over the lawn and tip on plants and stuff like that, wash the windows. Anyway, there we are. I'm not going to suggest that the water people do that, because they'll dig up the road, what's left of it. Thanks for all your messages and emails. Always nice to hear from you. I love talking to you, and it's nice to get some feedback. raiserants@protonmail.com. I'm getting a little bit hoarse. Why do they say horse? I suppose it sounds like a horse. I think I need a drink of water or something, so I shall be back in a minute. Just going back to childhood days and punishment. I don't think I was ever bad. I wasn't a problem to my parents. I didn't get into anything naughty. A friend of mine, well, not a friend so much, a chap I knew at school. He wasn't in my class, but I knew him. He was done for shoplifting. He was known for it. He'd go into a sweet shop and just take whatever he want, when the person behind the counter wasn't looking. We all knew about him. And one day he was caught and the police were called, and he was done for a load of... He'd taken stuff home. Apparently he got all sorts of things at home in his bedroom that he'd stolen. I don't know what, but he'd been into electrical shops and various other shops, not just sweets. And I don't know what happened to him. He left our school. I think he was expelled, because in those days you just got expelled if you were bad. I don't know what happened to expelled kids. Where did they go? I'm not sure about that. But this chap, though, he was done for it. I'm not sure what happened. I don't know which school he went to after that. We were, 14, I suppose. He was older than me, so he was probably about 15. But I never did anything like that. Okay, I stayed out and didn't tell parents I was going out, things like that. But I didn't cause them any real trouble. One of the boys in our class, his dad had a pub. In fact, it's a pub not far from me. It's only 10 minutes walk and it's still there. And he used to come into school with a duffel bag. Do you remember the duffel bags? Kind of rope thing round the top and you carry it by the rope. He used to come into school with that full of cigarettes. He'd be selling cigarettes to kids. And sometimes he'd come in with a bottle of vodka or a bottle of gin, stuff like that he'd stolen from his dad's pub. I don't think he ever got caught, but I do remember thinking, how bad that was. His dad's running a business and he's just stealing the stock. He always smelt of cigarettes. His school uniform used to stink of cigarettes because, of course, he lived above the pub, I suppose. There was a flat, there still is a flat above the pub. I remember his name. I won't mention it in case you're listening. You know who you are and you know the pub, not far from where I am now. But almost every day he'd come in with this duffel bag with cigarettes and all sorts in there. Cans of drink and, as I say, even a bottle of vodka or a bottle of gin on the odd occasion. Of course, back then, just about everyone smoked, so I suppose his dad didn't miss the cigarettes. They were behind the bar, weren't they? Back in those days in pubs, all the cigarettes for sale were just behind the bar. And they had machines. Do you remember the cigarette machines? I remember using those. When did they come in, those cigarette machines? The kind of wooden cabinet type ones that would be in the bar, in the lounge bar or in the public bar, just these cigarette machines. Of course, that way staff couldn't steal them. They're in the machine. When the cigarettes were just loose behind the bar on shelves, I'm sure that quite a few packets would just go missing. I suppose the chap's dad with the pub, they sold so many packets of cigarettes. Obviously, he didn't have very good stock control, because also back then they didn't have different sales on the till, did they? All the money went in the till, whereas these days it would be certain cigarettes, the make of the cigarettes, certain drinks, so you can look and see exactly what you sold. Back then it was just a till. You just ring up, 17 and sixpence, 10 and fourpence halfpenny, 12 and threepence, 3 farthings. And I could never work that money out. Could you do it? Who remembers that? When did we go decimal? 71, was it? I couldn't work out that money. I mean, what on earth is £1 17 and sixpence halfpenny minus 5 shillings and threepence farthing? How on earth could anyone work that out? I remember my grandfather, when the decimal money came in, it was 71, wasn't it, I think? He refused to go along with, no, he said, I'm not using that. New pence and all this business. New pence? No. He said, that's half a crown, that's 2 and sixpence, that's 2 bob, that's 1 and 6. He wouldn't do it. He said, there's 20 shillings in a pound, not 100 pennies in a pound. 100 new pence is a pound. He said, it's all rubbish. And, he'd go into shops. I'd be with him. I'd be embarrassed. He'd go into a shop and the chap would say, oh, that's 12 pence or something. And he'd say, no, it's not. What is it in proper money? And he'd start arguing with the shopkeepers. He was known in the village where he was. They call it a village. It's actually a small town, but they called it a village. I think officially it is a village still. But he was well known. And shopkeepers, I know this for a fact because one of them told me when I was older, they'd look out for him. Look out, here he comes. Look, oh, it's him. I won't mention his name. Look, it's him. He used to lecture shopkeepers. He was vegan. Can you imagine being a vegan back in the 60s and the 50s even? Vegan, no one had ever heard of it. And he used to go into shops and tell them off. He went in the shoe shop. I was with him on that occasion. And he started having a go at the lady in the shoe shop because she was selling leather shoes. Well, they're all leather. Well, I know there are plastic shoes around. And he was having a go at this woman. You shouldn't sell that. That was an animal. That's an animal's skin. You shouldn't be selling shoes made of animal skin. He was balmy. He really was balmy. The older he got, of course, the balmier he was. That expression, balm pot. He really was a balm pot. I mean, he was a nice enough chap, but he just had this thing about being a vegan and trying to make everyone else go along with him. Can you imagine that in the 1950s? People just thought he was mental. He gave me a letter once when I was a school kid. He said, take that letter to your school, right? When they dish up the dinner, you know, when you go to get your dinner at lunchtime, give it to the dinner ladies. Give the letter to one of the dinner ladies. I didn't, of course. I knew what would be in the letter. In fact, I opened it. I shouldn't have done that. When I got home, I opened it. And it was going on about you shouldn't be making children eat meat and all this business. I screwed it up and threw it away. No, in fact, I burnt it. I remember setting fire to it to be safe, 100%. No one would ever see it. The next time I saw him, he said, did you give them a letter? Oh, yeah, I did, yeah. I said, yeah, I gave them a letter. And he said, what did they say? I said, I don't know. They didn't open it. They were busy doing the dinners. And he said, have they not said anything since? I said, no one's ever commented. I know I lied, but what else could I do? I couldn't give it to the dinner ladies. They'd start thinking I was a nutcase. Problems start, don't they, when people start shouting off about their beliefs and what they're doing, and they don't think anyone else should be. I mean, as you probably know, I've mentioned it enough times over the 6 years I've been doing this. I don't eat meat simply because I don't like it. I don't like the taste of it. But I don't go around telling other people, oh, you shouldn't do that. Oh, that's disgusting. You shouldn't eat meat. Let them get on with their stuff and I get on with mine. It's nothing to do with me, what they eat. I've never, ever lectured anyone about what they eat. In fact, we're off out tonight for a meal. It's Saturday. Did I tell you it's Saturday today? We're going out for a meal. I think there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8 of us. In fact, yeah, 8 of us. We're all going out for a meal. I'm having veggie burger and chips. That's my favourite. Veggie burger and chips and some real ale. That'll be nice. Now the others will be having steak and ale pie and what else do they like? Real burgers, of course, and all that sort of thing. Doesn't bother me. We're all sitting at this huge table we've booked. That doesn't bother me, and I don't start lecturing them. It's when people are in your face. That's a good expression, is it? They're in your face. Oh, you shouldn't do that. You don't want to do that. Live and let live. I think that's the best thing, don't you? I don't know whether you've seen that little cartoon, Winnie the Pooh. Okay, there's Christopher Robin eating a bacon sandwich and there's a sort of fire in front of him on the forest floor. Is that little fire? And he's eating this sandwich and he says, sorry, Piglet, much as I liked you, I was very hungry. So he's made Piglet into a bacon sandwich. That's quite funny. And of course, I've picked up on that. If ever I see anyone eating a bacon sandwich, I'll say, that's my mate Piglet from the 100 Acre Wood. Oh dear, happy days. Hello, Mac, if you're listening. Sorry I've not answered your email yet. I've just found it. I normally check. In fact, I did read it the other day. It's about radios, isn't it? And I thought I must answer that because then I forgot. Put it down to old age, Mac, that's what it is. The sun's shining. The flag is still blowing, well, from the east again. But we've got some sunshine. I just had a look in the pond and there's a little frog there. A sort of half-size frog, so he's perhaps a baby. Well, a bit more than a baby. And he was hopping about, then he went for a swim, then he jumped out onto a rock and is sunbathing. Lovely. We've got a huge frog in there somewhere that I've seen a lot. But I haven't seen this other one, so he's a new member of the family, which is rather nice. And Gary, of course, Gary the tortoise, he's stomping around in the sunshine, eating weeds. Only certain weeds, we haven't got any weeds that are bad for him. I don't think he'd like deadly nightshade. So he's stomping around, which is good. The summer is on the way. I'm going to end it here. I know it's only half an hour, but I've got a lot to do. I've always got a lot to do, haven't I? Someone said to me the other day, well, several people on my sort of radio side of videos and stuff like that. I had several emails from people because I do the videos and they see my military radios that I'm working on. Someone said, I thought you'd retired and why have you gone back to work? Someone else said, why are you doing all these radios? You're wasting your retirement. It's my hobby. Do you know, I don't think many people have hobbies these days. It's my hobby. And I'm not in here, what I call my radio room. I don't live in here. I'm going out into the garden in a minute. I've got a lot to do out there because we're away at Bletchley Park next weekend. There's all sorts going on, so I've got to keep up with the garden. But I had all these emails and messages. almost sort of telling me off and moaning, oh, you shouldn't be doing that. You're supposed to be retired. I don't know. Anyway, nice talking to you as always. Sorry it's only half an hour. I'm trying to get back into the full length ones. Now, my mum passed away and all that. We had all sorts to do. Well, we're still dealing with her flat and stuff like that. But I'm hoping to have more time for possibly hour-long episodes again in the future, which will be good. Okay, be good. If you're bad, don't get caught. Don't go to prison. You don't want to get... Oh, mind you, you have to be careful what you say now. On Facebook and, Twitter and WhatsApp. You say anything naughty, you go to prison. Do you know, that's awful, isn't it? I never thought in my life, well, any lifetime, in this country, in Britain, that I'd see that sort of thing. People sent to prison for something they'd said. I mean, that's out of the ark, isn't it? That goes back to Soviet Union days and, what was his name? Chow. No, not Chow Mein. Chow Mein. Chairman Mao, that's it, with his little red book, wasn't it? All in uniforms and on bicycles, weren't they, in China? I remember as a kid, my dad telling me about that. They all wore grey uniforms and they all had bicycles. Well, I hope that's not coming here. Imagine me on a bicycle in a grey uniform with my little red book. Take care, don't get caught. I'm going to love you and leave you, and I will see you on Wednesday. But as I said, next Sunday I will be in Milton Keynes. Look it up on the map. Take care. Bye-bye for now.